With the power of Tandem HR, you are in the fast lane on Main Street with Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs. Now, the champion of networking, the advocate of jobs, the guru of business, your host, Shalom Klein.
The great Teddy Roosevelt once said, believe you can and you're halfway there. We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you certainly won't want to miss. It's a live show. You can call us at 312-642-5600, 312-642-5600. Get Down to Business is powered by Tandem HR, your solution center. You can find them at tandemhr.com or call 630-928-0510, 630-928-0510. You can also email them simplify@tandemhr.com. And believe it or not, we're just 2 days away from the business event. I've been talking about it. It's the free Healthcare and Small Business Summit taking place at Drury Lane on November 10th. You could register for free at thebusinessevent.com. Check out the website and the full lineup of fantastic speakers, thebusinessevent.com. I look forward to meeting you there. We've got a fantastic lineup of guests here today. First up, we've got Dr. David Friend from BDO Consulting. We have Teresa Ma, who's running for state representative, and Brett Welko. He's a stitch. You're going to enjoy hearing from all of them. And I've got some tips for all of you that are willing to wait until the end of the program. It's a live show. You can call us 312-642-5600. So as promised, we've got Dr. David Friend, who is the Managing Director and Chief Transformation Officer of the BDO Center for Healthcare Excellence and Innovation. Dr. Friend, welcome to the program.
Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. Fantastic. So it's great to have you on, and I want to jump right into this world of healthcare that seems to be constantly changing for both the insurance companies, the providers, and frankly, I'm sure all of our listeners can relate to this, the patients as well. Are there any themes, Dr. Friend, that you're hearing, regardless of what state our listeners might be in?
Oh, yeah. There are several big changes going on in healthcare. Let me mention a couple of them, and then we can talk about them as you'd like. The first one, which is probably most important to your listeners, is that consumers, meaning your listeners, are going to have an increasing role in healthcare. Much like all the other services that people buy, healthcare is moving in that direction. So ultimately, people are going to have more information, and they're going to have more ability to make decisions. But as you can see in changes in insurance, people are going to be paying more out of their own pocket for their services. So it's going to be very important for patients to either make themselves more informed or to make sure they have some kind of an advocate in the system. So I would say that's one big change. A second big change you're seeing is just the way healthcare is going to be financed by the government. Is going to slowly move from what we call fee-for-service, meaning doctors or hospitals do something and they get paid, and the government is going to move more towards wanting to pay for value, wanting to pay for services that actually offer usefulness. And the third big issue, which I think we're just constantly surrounded now, is by technology. There's just a march of technology, and I just was at a conference on Friday, and what I thought was fascinating, they think in the years ahead, as you think about your own information regarding your health, maybe 10% is going to come from your medical record, maybe 30% is going to come from our ability to read your genome, and 60% is going to come from the iWatch and the Internet and all of these devices you're going to use to monitor your health. So I'd say a driver of consumerism, number one, two, the way we pay for healthcare, and three, technology are the three big themes that I think your listeners should be thinking about.
That's fantastic. We're talking with Dr. David Friend of BDO, which is not just an accounting firm, but actually has taken a really major lead role in this healthcare transformation that's taking place across the country. And David, one of the interesting things over here for our listeners, many of which are small business owners, is the politics that's taking place. And for small businesses, which I hear from many entrepreneurs and small business owners that might have around 40, 50 employees. Everybody wants to take care of their people, but they're finding the cost to be very prohibitive. I'd be curious to know if you have a crystal ball and you could predict what's going to happen over the next 2 years. We have a presidential election exactly 1 year away. Do you think that the healthcare system as it exists today in November of 2015 will be the same in November of 2017?
Well, I think for the small businesses, and we do a lot of work with smaller companies, is that what you're going to see increasingly is, first of all, I think costs are going to go up this year. I think expectations are you're going to see premium increases on average of around 8%, and it would not surprise me if small business pays even more. So I think there's going to be greater pressure on employers. I think what you're going to see is certain action. You will probably see more employers think about encouraging their employees to use exchanges, which I'm sure you've heard about, either private exchanges or government exchanges to purchase health insurance. A simple way to think about an exchange is it's kind of like going on Amazon.com, and as opposed to buying a book or some kind of gadget, you can actually have a choice of health plans and pick the plan that's best for you. But the caution there is I believe people are going to be seeing prices go up depending on the service levels people want to purchase, the deductibles. So I would say for small business, it's going to be increasingly expensive to care, and either they're going to encourage their employees to purchase the care on their own, but there will clearly be discussions between employers and employees as to how to provide some form of coverage, whether the employee pays all of it or not. But the use of exchanges, I think, will grow, number one. Number two, because consumers are going to be more involved in their health care, they're going to have to be smarter about asking about prices and asking about what they're getting. So I think if you were to compare the system 2 years today from today, it will be somewhat more expensive. It will be somewhat more consumer-friendly. There will be more technology, and that's going to occur regardless of who the next president is. I think the system we have in the country, these trends are going to occur whether there's a Republican or a Democrat in the White House.
And a big part of this is not just what's going to happen on the federal level, but I was just following the recent election, the gubernatorial election in Kentucky, and you have a fellow who won the governor's office, and he initially started by saying he's going to get rid of the exchanges, and we don't have enough time to really get too deep into that subject, but now he's sort of embracing it, and it will be interesting to see on a state-by-state level what's going to happen. And states do have a lot of flexibility. But sticking to the small business theme for a moment, there are a lot of folks that are in the healthcare space of small businesses. And a shameless plug for our event, again, this Tuesday, the business event, where we are focusing on healthcare. And we have the CEOs of many hospitals that you can meet them in person at Drury Lane on November 10th. Register at thebusinessevent.com. And many small business owners that are in the healthcare space, I wonder if those businesses are viable. You and I have had this conversation in the past that there's going to be increased scrutiny and a much higher standard for really anybody that's in this space. There's additional oversight that's taking place. I'd be curious, do you believe that healthcare is a good place to be for an entrepreneur in 2015?
Yes, I do, and I'll tell you why. On the one hand, there's going to be more scrutiny for everybody who provides healthcare service to do a better job. But that's a good thing, because that means if you're an entrepreneur that's capable of providing a high-quality service, there's going to be demand. And I think if you look at the changes in technology, if you look at the increased emphasis on individuals being responsible for their care, there's going to be need for all kinds of organizations that provide goods and services to help the consumer navigate the care, to provide the technology. As I think you know, my middle son is involved in a healthcare startup, so he's in a small business where he's trying to provide a better service for people taking care of their parents by providing home care more effectively. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, frankly, for entrepreneurs to provide better services to the consumers, and particularly either focused on financial products, insurance products where consumers need a lot of advice, and technology, which I think you're going to see an explosion of startup companies providing all kinds of healthcare services.
That's fantastic, and we're going to have to keep it there. All I just want to conclude with is that I want to grow up to be like Dr. Friend's children. They're amazing, and we are going to have your son, I think probably both or all of your children on Get Down to Business because they're amazing, amazing people. More stories on that later. Dr. David Friend of BDO Consulting, thank you for joining us on Get Down to Business. How can our listeners find out more and read a little bit more about the work that you've been doing in healthcare?
Sure. They can just go to our website, which is BDO.com, and if they type in BDO Healthcare, they can go right to our website and learn more.
Fantastic. Coming up, we're going to check in with executive business coach and award-winning Vistage Chair Dick Smith. Talking about healthcare, I would love to meet you at our Healthcare Summit and Small Business Event this Tuesday. Register at thebusinessevent.com, and you can get on my website, shalomklein.com, to download podcasts of this interview with Dr. David Friend of BDO and many other interviews on Get Down to Business.